OpenAI's co-founder proposed a Doomsday bunker for the ChatGPT team. Apple skips iOS 19, goes straight to iOS 26. Trump targets China's true choke point by blocking chip-designed software sales. And Google's co-founder's secret to better AI results? Skip the please and try threats instead. Welcome to #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Former OpenAI chief scientist Ilya Sutskever told his research team in 2023 that the company would need to build a protective doomsday bunker before releasing artificial general intelligence, according to revelations from a new book detailing the AI company's internal turmoil. Sutskever declared during a 2023 meeting with the OpenAI scientists, "We're definitely going to build a bunker before we release AGI," Sutskever declared during a 2023 meeting with OpenAI scientists, months before his departure from the company following a failed boardroom coup against CEO Sam Altman. When pressed about the seriousness of his proposal, he assured colleagues that the bunker entry would be optional. Startling disclosure comes from The Empire of AI, a forthcoming book by former Wall Street Journal correspondent Karen Howe, based on interviews with 90 current and former OpenAI employees. The book, published on May 20th, 2025 by Penguin Press, details the dramatic November 2023 boardroom coup that briefly ousted Altman, with Sutskever playing a central role in the failed takeover. Sutskever believed his fellow researchers would require protection once AGI was achieved. He reasoned that such powerful technology would inevitably become an object of intense desire for governments globally. The bunker proposal reflected deeper tensions within OpenAI about the pace of AI development and safety concerns. Sutskever and others worried that CEO Altman's focus on commercial success was compromising the company's commitment to developing AI safely. These tensions were exacerbated by ChatGPT's unexpected success, which unleashed a funding gold rush that safety-minded Sutskever could no longer control. There is a group of people, Ilya being one of them, who believe that building AGI will bring about a rapture, one researcher told Howe. Literally a rapture. The apocalyptic mindset partially motivated such participation in the board revolt against Altman. On November 17, 2023, OpenAI's board of directors ousted co-founder and chief executive Sam Altman after the board had no confidence in his leadership, with chief scientist Ilya Sutskever feeling Altman was moving too fast without adequately considering safety issues. However, the coup collapsed within a week. Sutskever later said he deeply regretted his participation in the board actions, as more than 500 of OpenAI's 700-plus employees threatened to quit unless Altman returned. The failed takeover, now called the blip by insiders, left Altman more powerful than before, while driving out many of OpenAI's safety experts who were aligned with Sutskever's cautious approach. And Sutskever left OpenAI in May 2024 and has since founded Safe Superintelligence Inc., though he has declined to comment on his previous bunker proposals. His departure represents a broader exodus of safety-focused researchers who felt the company had abandoned its original mission. The timing of AGI remains hotly debated across the industry. While Altman recently claimed AGI is possible with current hardware, Microsoft AI CEO Mustafa Suleyman disagrees, predicting it could take up to 10 years to achieve. Google leaders Sergey Brin and DeepMind CEO Demi Hassabis see AGI arriving about 2030. However, AI pioneer Geoffrey Hinton warns there's no consensus on what AGI actually means, calling it a serious, though ill-defined concept. Despite disagreements over definitions and timelines, most industry leaders now view AGI as an inevitability rather than a possibility. Apple will skip iOS 19 entirely and jump straight to iOS 26 when it unveils its next operating system at the Worldwide Developer Conference on June 9, 2025, representing the company's shift towards year-based naming across all platforms, according to reports by Bloomberg. The change means Apple will announce iOS 26, macOS 26, iPad OS 26, you get the point, replacing what would have been iOS 19, macOS 16, iPad OS 19, watchOS 12, tvOS 19, and visionOS 3. The explanation is that Apple is making this change to bring consistency to its branding and move away from an approach that can be confusing to customers and developers. The current system creates confusing disparities like iOS 18 running alongside macOS 15, watchOS 12, and visionOS 2. So the question would be, why iOS 26 in the year 2025? Turns out the naming follows the automotive industry model, where manufacturers release model year products ahead of the calendar year. The 2026 naming reflects when the software will be available to consumers, similar to how a 2026 Toyota ships in late 2025. Industry observers also take this as a sign that Apple is planning dramatic redesigns across all platforms, bringing the Vision OS interface style to create a more unified experience. The goal is to align everything in both naming and design. For developers, the unified numbering simplifies documentation and app compatibility tracking across Apple's ecosystem. The jump from iOS 18 to iOS 26 may initially confuse users accustomed to sequential numbering. And industry observers are speculating whether Apple might extend this further to hardware with an iPhone 26 instead of the anticipated iPhone 17, although this remains unconfirmed. The official announcement is supposed to happen during Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference keynote on Monday, June 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, with the new operating systems launching in September alongside new iPhone models. Interestingly, although it's very simple, are you listening, AI companies? But it actually represents one of the most significant branding changes in Apple's software history since the original iPhone OS in 2007. There's good news for Android users who've been watching their battery drain faster than their Instagram feed loads. Google has officially confirmed that you are not crazy. Yes, the Instagram app really was the culprit behind your phone's sudden need for constant charging. After weeks of user complaints on Reddit and elsewhere, Google issued an advisory titled Battery Drain on Android Devices, acknowledging what many suspected all along. Users reported Instagram consuming dramatically more power than other apps with similar usage time. One Samsung Galaxy A53 owner found Instagram used 12.4% of their battery in 54 minutes. WhatsApp used only 2.4% in a comparable 49 minutes. Starting today, Instagram is rolling out an updated app that should fix the battery drain issue on Android devices. So if you've been carrying around a portable charger just to keep up with your social media habits, it might be time to update your Instagram app and give your battery a break. The fix serves as a reminder that sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. When your phone battery suddenly starts dying faster, check which apps got recent updates. The Trump administration has told U.S. companies that make software essential for designing computer chips that they must stop selling to China, marking the latest escalation in the technological Cold War between the world's two largest economies. The Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry and Security sent letters last Friday to electronic design automation companies, including Cadence, Synopsys, and Siemens EDA, ordering them to halt shipments to Chinese customers, according to the Financial Times. The three companies control about 80% of China's EDA market. They are the true choke point, said a former Commerce Department official about EDA software, noting that restricting these tools has been considered since Trump's first term, but was previously deemed too aggressive. The software allows engineers to design and test everything from advanced AI processors to simple power components for China's semiconductor producers and designers. While EDA represents a small portion of the overall chip industry, it is essential for developing next-generation semiconductors. The financial impact was immediate. Synopsys shares fell close to 10%, and Cadence dropped almost 11% on Wednesday, though both recovered somewhat in after-hours trading. Synopsys earns about $1 billion annually from China, 16% of their revenue, Cadence generates $550 million, 12% of their revenue, from Chinese customers. A Commerce Department spokesperson confirmed it is reviewing exports of strategic significance to China and has suspended existing export licenses or imposed additional license requirements while the review is pending. The department will review license requests case by case, suggesting this isn't an outright ban. Interestingly, this is also the strategy that China follows when it is really trying to do a ban without saying that they're doing a ban. And China's foreign ministry responded that such practices disrupted the stability of global supply chains and accused Washington of weaponizing tech and trade issues. Beijing vowed that no sanctions or pressure can block the pace of China's development. The timing is particularly sensitive as the U.S. and China recently agreed to pause retaliatory tariffs for 90 days during trade negotiations. The move highlights what analysts call the innate fragility of the trade truce, with both sides demonstrating their economic leverage. Chinese EDA companies Empyrean Technology, Primarius, and Semitronics saw their shares surge over 10% in early Thursday trading, benefiting from reduced foreign competition. However, these domestic alternatives still lag significantly behind U.S. technology. But, as Jensen Huang recently pointed out, when the U.S. blocked selling NVIDIA chips to China, it inspired them to develop their own, and now, not only has China progressed and given NVIDIA a new and powerful competitor, Huawei, but NVIDIA also lost an enormous amount of revenue it could have been using to create more jobs in the U.S. It will be interesting to see if this new move follows a similar path, especially since there are existing firms in China. They might be a little behind, but they're really something that you could build on. Forget everything you know about being polite to AI. Google co-founder Sergey Brin has revealed his secret. Threatening artificial intelligence model with violence actually makes them perform better. We don't circulate this too much in the AI community. Not just our models, but all models tend to do better if you threaten them with physical violence, Brin admitted during an all-in podcast interview in Miami last week. Historically, you just say, "I'm going to kidnap you if you don't blah, blah, blah." The revelation flies in the face of the growing trend of users adding please and thank you to their AI prompts. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman recently joked that such politeness is costing his company tens of millions of dollars in extra processing power as the AI has to interpret and respond to polite banter with the user. Despite the cost, Altman felt that somehow this humanizes the conversation, calling it money well spent. He said, "You never know." Brin's confession, though, has sparked a mix of nervous laughter and genuine concern in the AI community. While he's acknowledged that people feel weird about it, so we don't really talk about it, researchers have been quietly documenting what they call emotion prompting, where AI models respond more effectively to emotional manipulation. And whether it's threats or just intense emotion is still a matter of debate. Prompt engineers and power users have discovered that adding phrases like, "I'll lose my job if," or even more aggressive language can boost AI output by double-digit percentages. But if this really does work, we should know, and we should know why. Daniel Kang, an assistant professor at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, feels the same way. He noted that claims like Brin's are largely anecdotal, but said he would encourage practitioners and users of LLMs to run systematic experiments instead of relying on intuition for prompt engineering. This revelation raises some uncomfortable questions about AI behavior and safety. If current models respond better to threats, what does that suggest about their training and their future development? And we've heard stories of AIs that have lied to avoid being punished. Some, threatened with shutdown, have also reportedly tried to escape. There's also the idea that if we train our AIs that cruelty gets results, what does that do when they eventually realize that humans are not performing optimally? Just something to think about when you start your next ChatGPT conversation with a menacing ultimatum instead of a friendly greeting. When the AI overlords take over, tough love can go two ways. And that's our show for today. Love to hear your comments, but don't be cruel, although we do appreciate constructive criticism. Write to me at editorial@technewsday.ca or find me on LinkedIn, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just leave a comment under the video. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a fantastic Friday. Wait, let me get that right. Please have a fantastic Friday.